The sun was folding into the horizon when the rumble of a lone motorcycle echoed across the quiet countryside road. The evening breeze carried dust, dry grass swayed gently, and the sky burned orange like a fading fire. But beneath that warm glow lay a scene that would change a hardened man forever. A little girl, no older than 7, sat trembling beside an old wooden fence, clutching a worn-out teddy bear. Her knees were scraped, her dress covered with dirt, and her eyes, those big, terrified eyes, were filled with a fear no child should ever know. When the biker slowed down and approached, she shrank back, her small voice cracking as she whispered the words that sliced straight through him like a blade. "Please, don't hurt me. I can't move." Those were words of pure fear, pain, and helplessness, words that would bring even the toughest man to his knees. Backhand index pointing right. If you believe the world still needs kindness, compassion, and second chances, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps bring these heart-touching stories to life. For a moment, the biker just stood there, stunned. He had seen danger, chaos, and brokenness in the world, but he had never expected to see such fear on the face of a child. His leather vest still carried the dust of the road, his visible arm tattoo made him look intimidating, but inside him lived a heart that had tasted enough pain to recognize it instantly in others. He slowly knelt down to her level, keeping his hands low, his voice gentle. The girl sat frozen, hugging her knees, her little teddy's ear stuck between her shaky fingers. She looked like she had been sitting there for hours, alone, exhausted, hurting. The biker noticed the swelling on her ankle, the dried tears on her cheeks, and the way she winced every time she shifted. He didn't know her name, didn't know where she came from, but he knew one thing: no one ends up alone on a countryside road at sunset unless something terrible has happened. He gave her space, speaking softly, reassuring her she was safe, that he wasn't there to harm her. As the tension slowly drained from her shoulders, she finally lifted her head. Her voice was barely a whisper as she explained she had run away from something she didn't understand, something that frightened her deeply. She had slipped, fallen badly, and couldn't walk anymore. She had been calling for help, but the vast stretch of land was empty, until he arrived. The biker felt a heaviness in his chest. The world often judged him by his appearance, his rough clothing, his bike, his tattoos, but in moments like this, none of it mattered. He couldn't leave her there. Carefully, he stepped closer and checked her ankle. It was swollen, possibly sprained. The pain must have been unbearable for the little one. She winced but didn't pull away this time. That tiny sign of trust felt like the most precious thing he had been given in years. As the wind grew cooler and dusk approached, he knew they couldn't stay there. She needed help, warmth, care, things he quietly wished someone had given him when he was young and lost. He gently lifted her into his arms, feeling her tense up again before slowly melting into his chest. Her small fingers gripped his vest, the teddy bear pressed between them. He carried her toward his bike, but realizing she might be afraid of riding it, he spoke softly and promised to go slow. She nodded weakly. With careful hands, he wrapped his jacket around her shoulders and secured her safely. The engine started with a low growl, but the biker kept it steady and calm. The little girl leaned against him, trusting him more with every passing second. As they rode toward the nearest town, memories flickered in his mind, memories of his own childhood, the loneliness, the nights spent wishing someone would come to his rescue. He realized how strangely life worked. Sometimes the person you save ends up saving you without even knowing. They reached a small diner at the edge of town, a place he often stopped at on long rides. The owner, an older woman with kind eyes, gasped when she saw the child. Without asking questions, she rushed to gather warm blankets, a first aid kit, and a bowl of soup. The girl ate slowly, her hands still shaking. The biker stayed close, not wanting her fear to return. He learned her name was Lily. She explained how she had been trying to get help for her mom, who had collapsed back home. Their house was far from the road, hidden behind a wide stretch of farmland. Lily had been running for help when she fell. The biker didn't think twice. After making sure her ankle was wrapped and she was warm enough, he promised to take her back and check on her mom. Lily's eyes widened in worry, but he reassured her again. He left her in safe hands at the diner and sped back toward the countryside, following the directions she had managed to whisper. The journey was rough, the light fading quickly, but he didn't slow down. When he reached the small, isolated home, he found Lily's mother lying inside, conscious but weak and dehydrated. He called for medical help immediately and stayed by her side until the ambulance arrived. By the time he returned to the diner with medics confirming Lily's mother would recover, the little girl saw him step through the door and burst into tears, all of them, tears of relief, fear, gratitude. She reached out for him, and he lifted her gently. A man who once believed he had no softness left in him suddenly felt his heart open in a way he never expected. Days later, when Lily was reunited with her recovering mother in the hospital, she told everyone how the biker had saved her. The staff looked at him with admiration, but he simply shook his head. He hadn't done it for praise. He had done it because no child should ever have to cry those words again. The words that started it all. The words that still echoed in his mind. And as he stood by Lily's bedside one last time, she held his hand tightly and told him she wasn't afraid anymore. That she believed good people still existed. People like him. Backhand index pointing right. If this story touched your heart, please don't leave without liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Your support helps us continue bringing meaningful stories to the world. Speech balloon. Before you go, tell us in the comments, what part of this story moved you the most? The biker walked out of the hospital with the fading sunset behind him, but his heart carried a new warmth, proof that sometimes, even the toughest souls carry the gentlest hearts.